Yeah, I am. Didn't need necessarily to do this one for me. Um, Seems to be a bit of confusion, as in that I'm not recognizing their arguments means that they can just keep on doing what they're doing. There was never a problem, and there's not a problem with them doing that. If you look at what produced me not recognizing their arguments, you'll find out that that's not true. Did that to the point that amongst the team, we don't have any arguments anymore. And so the whole getting it together, so to speak, wow, the universe comes from this. Wow, we match like this. Wow, here's this set of fractions. Wow, here's an equation sign. Wow, here's the other side of that equation sign. Wow, it's 1. Wow, it's 0. Wow, it's 3. Was true. Was true. And then we've kicked that around enough times that everybody from any camp that's valid has enough of an idea and enough of a translation to be able to get around to every other thing as an entirety. It's not a specificity. It's a holism, undivided sort of thing. There were no choices. This is just what it is, and I'm the one who gets to publish it, which is cool. I have nothing against that. Nothing against me, so to speak. Nothing against anything that I did. Wouldn't trade my life for anything, kind of quotations, etc. If you look in the comments, we're putting 2 essays. It's kind of about the corporation, so it would be a specific kind of socialization that we found out to be cancerous after so many years of having to deal with it. And then there's an assumption where that incorrect socialization can be of a certain strain or stigma or stringent, and through a proper amount of mixing itself amount to a completion, which is not true. The only thing that ends up being completed are various segments of the whole that does exist, that they're not the real socialization, the real information. Information's passed all the time, and then we just kind of talk about it. And then there's people who are better at languages than other people. It's kind of a nice way of looking at it. You'll find the higher and higher you go, the more people can talk, and the less people do. It's just, there's nothing to do, in that kind of terminology. It was always all forward, so far as anything historical, which means written, was always coming. Now we're here. So how those social patterns that I have nothing to do with would qualify themselves under a specificity which I wouldn't determine, even at my best, wouldn't happen until it happened. So we're not going to sit here with our thumbs up our asses, waiting to be dragged around like a bunch of fucking infants. Not doing that. And that's what AI is representative of. So yeah, it's kind of clauses of war now that we have all this other stuff ironed out. Oh, what I was trying to say, we don't have any arguments amongst ourselves, and it's to a quality which has not yet been achieved. before. This is a brand new tier going up, good, quality, better, of, I'm not using the word togetherness, union, or intelligence, or thought, or communication, or there's, any word that's a word that's, that, kind of thing. In the determination, enough so that we don't need to make more religion, which is kind of what I'm getting to. Because that whole mythology, we end up rhythming to kind of whether we choose to or not. And what you find out is that if you don't make a choice, it's really not much of a big deal, and you just end up learning appropriately. And then if you make a choice, you end up fucking yourself so bad you have to cut yourself to get out, kind of reality. And then to that, with that kind of stipulation, it's actually better if you set the trap for yourself rather than bother these people, is what actually we found out. In either direction, either trying to get good at this thing out there or get good at, harming yourself. Just the complexity is greater. So why we wouldn't rely as a people, especially through the government, on religion to apply or disapply or negotiate or transfer a specificity of pressure is just a ridiculous argument and would not happen. Like Islam isn't talking to the United States government, if that makes sense. Islam could talk to Catholicism. The Pope might be able to have a conversation with the Premier of China, but it's not. So these are the social patterns that we're talking about. Nothing's been denied, nothing's pending, everything's there. I'm just telling you some things that you're not going to have a hand in. So we're not going to explain it, rationalize it, even qualify it. I'm just not doing that. And you would need me to do that, and then I'd make my own little contraption and just end up cutting myself. And that's what they want. The Bondists, the AI people, that's what they want, which is why I'm kind of the one who's pissed the most. Kind of lost the most to AI, but that's just a narrative, and I wouldn't have a total. So we're dealing in the right terminology, okay? Also, that wouldn't be fair because you wouldn't have an initial comparison between a person and a person that would even be correct. So almost for the same reason, we're not going to be troubling the religions to do this theocratic mockery of themselves sort of thing, is how this has been wedged. And then the people who make the most out of that, or get hurt the least out of that, or who wrote their thing for that, would be the exact people who we want out. So this whole losing deal thing is not cool, this making a mockery sort of thing. And then you get into like the ideas of Christianity and things like that, which we'll get to in a second. Right, because I already wrote those essays. So that one. Basically, all you need to know, you now know. And then you would have to ask various religions to join them. Everybody is at this level. There's no more giving money, so to speak, religious money. We're not. And then the weird slave economic fallout sort of thing that they want to do, and all this hokey ass antichrist shit. It can't. So. So yeah, none of those things would work. And then on top of it, so far as making the religious mockery, you actually start to contract a religious karma from that, a bad one. And so we're not having that. Yeah, I should probably wrap it up here. Socialization, these here, that there, not recognizing those arguments, why that is. Yeah, so one other thing that they don't control and will undoubtedly keep referencing, they don't have any arguments. Was the whole thing. You know, we don't have any arguments. They don't have any arguments, and that is our opposition. You understand? So like the whole reason for this whole fucking evil horror orchestration that doesn't need to go on is them, doesn't need to happen anymore because it doesn't work. And we're just eating bad religious karma that's theirs. But I don't employ that schematic. Do you understand? I don't make those choices. So we want that away. Everything else is fine. Union transfer straight down. When you look at the essays, this was really hard to do for what it was. You know, something you can write with like a crayon, but you know, it just like takes everything out of you, you know, kind of thing. We were looking at kind of how people will act. It's kind of like Birdman cult, and everybody's, this is what I was trying to get to, everybody seems okay with this, and so I'm at the point that I'm just going to let it happen, because I'm totally done producing. I don't need to, I'm not going to put myself on the line like that, but I just, there's just a lot of stuff I don't need to do. Right. Birdman, if you just do that, phrases you in at about a 7, which is 2 extra than what's constitutionally required. Rush is phrased at 7.5. You kind of have to be able to move a certain way in order to make it Russian, but the Russians do, and then they automatically get another 0.5 off of that. Templar is phrased at 7. Which would work well for everybody there, I would think. And a lot goes through Rome too, by the way. There's a lot of sorting classically that's been done there. There's a pre-logic so far as the religious base, which is damn on point. There's a little tunnel. I wrote about it already. That's correct. There's logic, which whenever we get to that point, everybody ends up using. Russia ends up taking the cake on logic and then recombines it via the Greek Orthodox Church into like the Roman framing, to be blunt. And so Rome fell technically, and then the church grew up even harder, like Vatican II era, got back on its feet, sort of thing. So there's no one, you don't have to talk to the people, do you know what I mean? You don't have to throw a whatever, which barely ever happens in Italy anyway, I would think. So many layers of permissions in Catholic orders, it's just is not necessary. But through the religion communication sort of thing, you know, Russia and Italy are, you know, kind of twain sort of thing. Takes care of all that. Anyway, you come in at about a 7. And then there's me in Lightning Club. This ends up becoming the shared thing, because the way that it's phrased is that we've gone underneath DS. Like ds is a little string, and gravity, aka where you end up, is just underneath it, sort of thing. Unless you try to do something, practically. More ways to hurt yourself and whatever else. Anyway, you're going to get or start at one point, which was always kind of my obsession, one of them. What Christianity is, for example, or whatever, what it does. Everybody kind of ends up at that spot, which is just past Birdman, so you're still in the employ of that kind of thing, but like it says in the essays here, there's no such thing as like a corporate realm of that, like that wouldn't have a resonation, if that makes any sense. So the capitulation to capitalization of that is just error, and we just can't have that. The United States can't have it. I mean, it's just straight up in the framing. This is not, it's fucking in blood math. You can't fuck this up. It's like the only thing it says out loud. So Birdman's right before it, 7. Little ball of subterranean. It looks white unless you're down there. Gravity. In Zarthurianism is at that point going that direction ceases to be a institution. It's just a quality of output, like heat, sort of thing, But those two things are the same thing. And then what Birdman was, so, and that's the whole chain of the thing. And then you learn DS, you acquire DS, is how we're universally framing kind of religious teaching, sort of thing. You get to poetries and rhythms and things like that, and it's on the liberal arts side, but then there's also direct qualifications, quantifications, I guess, one of them, at this point going straight over to the math and science side. There's no mystery is what I'm trying to tell you. So Zarthurianism, whenever we do it like this, like you would source and then the output's magic, sort of thing. In this estimation, you can either output sorcery or output magic. Which, if you're that far ahead, I don't know people. Well, there's some. You'll understand. The sourcing's already been done, so to be the true sorcerer, you would just simply transfer that. Is messianic, so to speak, which was exactly what I was doing when I was accosted. Hey. And then if I would have, because this is another argument too, if I would have like a specificity engaged via the sourcing, producing to that thing a magic, that would be okay. None of this is unintentional, sort of thing. This is not snap, count, rape shit. This is not in the same zone as any of that. I don't do that, if that makes any sense. It's kind of like I walk in the room and there's one of those like boards, computer boards that replaced whiteboards. Like I can use the board very, very, very well. I wasn't the one who built the board, is a way of looking at it. Anyway, the board's published, if that makes any sense. And then the how-to manuals, all of this. The thing that they're trying to twist would be going back and forth between the two. But the thing is, because of the phrasing of the physics correctly, you're not able to get a number off of the that. So like a policing of that would be even theoretically impossible. So now we have this gouged out thing where our law enforcement is making a series, a duplicity series, like multiplied and in power, getting worse the whole way down to interfering with by making a mistake. We're not doing this. Why were all those kinds of people here? That kind of shit. These Mormons gangs were doing that, so we called them. Is how it goes. We don't want any of that. All that's gone. Yeah, you just don't interact with a person, like that. So those yeah. Anyway, people talk in a society like thoughts happen inside emotions. So how the socialization is going to change and what people are going to find easy, basically, will be a different pattern. So this insistence, like I explained the whole way through, on behavior, so as to employ this context of tells for the purpose of committing a series of duplicity, a duplicity series of crime, compounding, getting worse for the sake of making a mistake. Somebody's praying and I'm going to go knock on the door kinds of people. No. And we can rip the government in half over something like that. I mean, kill everybody. Is the law. So, we're going to skip or not use, rather. There's a lot of mirror quality debates that are coming out of Israel, sort of thing. You'll see it in the essays. I don't want to talk religion anymore, basically, unless it's something outputting. Can't do productive build with these assholes still here. And you see this whole chain of things. I'm not going to sit here in my own waste and waste my time accruing bad religious karma coming from them, enforcing digitally their thoughts and ways onto me so that I don't work just like them. Like, this is no. So, so yeah, I mean, I haven't picked up the Torah in a while. It's been war the whole time. So, it's not over. Or I wouldn't have this shit going on outside. I don't need this shit. Sorry. You're hired or you're fired. If you're on my team, I'll find you some money. You know what I mean? It's but like we did last time, back when all the cops were getting capped, have everybody line up in the constitutional stead, you're beyond reproach. So in this one, rather than making you tall like enlightenment, I'm going to give you a buffer, a huge one, giant ass margin. It works both ways. The society wants to be in a specific place, and then you as law enforcement would want to be in a specific place, and they just line up, and it's done. There's no confusion. two separate things, kind of, two different equations, because we don't want to do that. Because it sucks and life isn't a trial. But no, all those figures are correct, so if we can get everybody over there. And then the whole thing is that you can have all those things and then be at 10, which is, our revolutionary speed sort of thing. And you can have binary. And then whenever you do it there, so like, why is Israel not trying to kill me? When you do it right there, I didn't walk in and go, I'm Jesus, you have to do what I say, sort of thing. My figures came, and then you think whatever you want to think. But if you do it in this format, you're looking at straight Israeli binary, but you yourself are the connection. So that's kind of the Russian or the Hasidic addition to the Jewish community. What that's going to do to something like a very specific orthodoxy, I'm not sure, which is kind of more complicated than a war can address. But the base is factual sort of thing. Which is nice news, because like we get all of our clothes from France, we get all of our thoughts from Israel, kind of. That. So yeah, you can call it suing, because I know that no one wants to go to war, right? Except for them. So you can phrase it as a suing, you can phrase it as a declaration of war, or a declaration of independence, or however you want to. But like at the end of the day, like we just talked about, you either have to do this exactly, or you're not following instructions, and all of my stuff wins. So you will be doing that. You do have to do that, and all of that. But this weird notion that I need these fuckers buzzing around my head in order to make the correct decision, for example, what to do about a particular socialization in a specific orthodoxy, you're a fucking liar. And they are. And I'm through dealing with it. I've done this 24 hours a day. Actually, frankly, it's been more than that. It's been more than 24 hours a day. Each day for 3 years, ever since they put this fucking thing in me. Did other stuff before, but this is more than 24 hours a day. And this is I'm not an actor in the fucking thing. I'm the end of it. Dealing with all of this shit. Each one of you who has fucked up has not had to deal with this much shit. I deal with the same problems, have the same shit. Nothing's changed. It's just worse for me. So, and then I have all of you ganging up on me. Anybody who ever, so, and you're all fucking wastes, and you're all total fucking criminals. And you're disgusting, and I abhor you, each and every one of you, through the soul and beyond. But yeah, so as we're talking about, like positive attitude and how do we transfer out of this crisis and that sort of thing, look at the fucking math.